Guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. This week, we're joined by Ramzi Ghurani, the managing partner of Petra Insurance Brokers. So in an industry where the relationship with clients is at the heart of the business, transitioning to online platforms can be really tricky for people and that insurance brokers, Petra Insurance Brokers, Ramzi will be telling us more about meeting the needs of insurance customers in a digital era. Petra Insurance has been one of the most active players in the UAE insurance market for over 55 years, providing solutions to individuals and companies alike and offering transparency in their policies, trust with the broker and financial facilities. So welcome, Ramzi.
Thank you very much.
I think you're the first guest that we've had on from an insurance brokerage firm. So it's really interesting and thanks for joining.
I appreciate that. I'm glad to be the first. So hopefully the only one too.
Hopefully the only one. Definitely, definitely the first and probably one of the ones that has been around for a long time. 55 years in the UAE.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, so it's Petra Insurance Brokers is a family business. So my father established it. So he came to Dubai back in 1966. And you know, expats now, they say, I'm only going to be here for 2 years or whatever, then I'm going to go back home, and then they stick around. Well, that's exactly what happened to him. He was planning to stay only for a couple of years because there was nothing here. It was pretty boring, you know. And in 1968, oil struck, and then, you know, fortunes change. You have to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And he was good at insurance, and he happened to be in the right place at the right time. And then the business kind of picked up from there. The golden era, the 70s, the 80s, and even the 90s. Things kind of slowed down in the 2000s, just things changed. And I came on board at 2012, actually, to take over the business. It was a bit of an old school situation. So I kind of came and put the new, fresh, new blood in, which was needed. And I guess 9 years later, 10 years in Feb, you know, we've done a lot of changes, and you know, at 55 years, the best thing about this is that there's a legacy, and the roots are there. The values are still there. My job was kind of to articulate the values that my father started, because they don't really care about this stuff. They just want to do business and do the right thing, shake hands, business is done. We kind of come on board and kind of put that into a package thing for people to understand internally and externally.
Yeah. Amazing. So your father, did he, you know, he ended up in insurance. Was that something that he studied? And from which country did he come, and how did he kind of establish a business? It's fascinating. In 1966.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. My father, we're Palestinian, and same thing, he's from Ramallah. And so obviously with the situation there, he had to leave Palestine and move to Jordan, right? And over there, like, he had a very bit of a struggle, not a lot of money, just a typical story that you hear. And then I guess, you know, there's that resilience and that ambition to become better. And I think there's a fighting spirit. So he just wanted to work. He had to make some money, and then happened to work in insurance. They were just as a clerk.
Yeah.
But my father is intelligent, but didn't have the money to go to university. So he would actually love, and believe it or not, like, that's one of the few people that I know, love reading the insurance wordings, the legal stuff. Okay. He loved it. Yeah. He loved how the words could change, impact things. And one word could change everything with anybody, you know, contractually, in insurance. So that's something he had passion for, and he kept working hard. And back then it was easier to move up. So if you're working hard, sincerely working hard, you would get promoted. And they saw something in him at a young age. I believe he was 24, 25 years old. And they said, you know what, you're the man that we want to take you to expand our business in this region. So there was visionaries that were his mentors. So he didn't know what was going on at 26. He just went wherever they told him, and he was just doing a job that he loved. And then he actually started off in Qatar for a couple of years, and then it was Dubai. So 64 in Qatar, and actually back then there was a currency Qatar and Dubai, and I have it back in the office. I'm happy to
okay.
share it with you guys. It says Qatar, Dubai, 1 dirham. That was the
Wow.
currency back in 1964, 66, that time.
Interesting.
It's pretty amazing actually back then
Yeah.
what it was. And then he just came here and he stayed, and he's still here actually.
So when he arrived here, we're coming up to sort of 50 years of the UAE. He came before that, and there was different. You know,
Yep.
the Trucial States and Qatar might have been part of the UAE originally.
Yeah, and
so-
that's exactly it.
And then the UAE was formed, and you know, was it possible? Did he set up the business then from scratch, and how did that sort of happen? back
Okay,
then?
that's a very good question. So just to be clear, Petra Insurance Brokers as its trademark has
Yeah.
been around since 2002, but
Yeah.
the same management team
Okay.
have been around since then.
Yeah.
So it started with my father, and then brought somebody on board in the 70s. And the beautiful thing is that we actually still have clients since the 70s
Amazing.
with us today.
Wow.
So so back then it was an insurance agency for the Jordan Insurance Company. So we were underwriters. So we
Yeah.
come from an underwriting, which means you're from an insurance company perspective. He would be able to price things, pay out the claims himself, and all that stuff. Rules change in the UAE, in Dubai specifically, so we weren't able to become basically an insurance company anymore, is one of those things. So we ended up becoming brokers, but the same level of service. And the thing that makes us special, I would say, is that brokers are known to distribute products. All right, we do that, of course, but insurance companies also have to distribute their products in some way. But what makes us different and stronger is that we know the real insurance. Like we know what the pricing means, the rating means, when the client will or will not get screwed with this kind of wording. And that's the kind of advice that we give. Plus, we're on top of things when it comes to claims. And that's purely based on our roots from back then. It just, we come from an insurance company background, not just a sales force, if you will.
And so that's really interesting to understand it. So from a brokerage point of view, were there brokers back then, and how did the industry evolve, and the role that Petra plays
That's
now?
a very good question. Back in the 60s, 70s, in the UAE, I'm not sure if there were any or how many brokers there were. I know that came about probably more so in the 90s, but I'm sure there were some before. I don't have the specific numbers of that. I could tell you something right now. There's about 100 there's a ton of brokers here. Too many, if you ask me. There's about 180 brokers, 170 brokers.
Brokerage firms, yeah.
In the
Dubai,
UAE.
in UAE,
Yeah,
okay.
and the market isn't that big. If it was in Saudi, that's not bad. It's not a bad thing to have that many people, or one of those bigger markets. But there's also 70-something insurance companies. The competition is cutthroat.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what it was back then in the 90s, but I think that's where the brokerages started, just like when we did, basically.
So Ramzi, then, speeding up forward, you came on board almost 10 years ago, and, full transparency, we as Augustus Media have used Petra Insurance for our employees, for our health insurance for the last 6 years. Are we a representative of the type of company that you work with? Do you work with individuals? What's the makeup of the insurance that you provide?
Well, that's beautiful to ask, because it changes almost every year with such a volatile market, and we're an expat-based industry, right? And that's why I'm proud of certain companies that have been with us for, I guess, 50 years, At the same time, Augustus Media, Love in Dubai are definitely the kind of clients that we love to work with, because we are progressing and you guys are a progressive company. So we love the values aligning with each other, and then that's how you grow together. And again, that's always been from our first, when we first started, was we start off small with companies and you kind of grow. But also we have a diverse base of customers. We're not sticking to one type, but that's definitely one angle, is the ones that are moving up. They're more into the tech space, if you will, or they're more into the podcast like this, that kind of understand the whole approach these days. But also we deal with customers that are old school. And there is that, and there are older people working in the company, and they want to work with us as well, because they know that there's certain trust there that they can do with us. But our client base is very, very diverse. Our insurance, we provide everything, you name it, from A to Z. We all have to have medical insurance, pretty much car insurance. But also we do group types of insurances, which is not just individuals, but for corporates, medical insurance, complex stuff like cyber liability, cyber insurance, which is really underpenetrated. And right now, small companies, medium companies, and large companies have to look at these packages. And I think it's a silent killer, actually, right now, because insurance is not an industry that people love to buy. Like, you don't go in the weekend and think about, yeah, well, let's do some insurance shopping. You know, that just doesn't happen. No. And that's why our marketing and our advertising is for the people's interest to be piqued, so they can actually look into the type of insurance that we're trying to make insurance. Sorry if I'm going to say this, insurance sexy as much as possible. So if you go into social, and it is sort of possible, because we write about blogs, for example, insuring legs, model legs. We talk about these things that are quite weird. Did you know there's alien abduction insurance? There's such a thing, and people take out those policies because people believe, and it's not. Everybody has the right to believe whatever they want. People believe that they're going to be.
Believe the world is flat. Those people.
But it is there, and people have paid for that. There's also something called multiple birth insurance. So people have only budgeted for one kid. This is actually famous in the UK. So and then you got triplets. There's those 2 extra kids are extra budget for them. So we talk about these fun things in insurance. We did a silly thing for Money Heist on Thursday or Wednesday, and they went viral. I'm super excited it went viral. But we do serious stuff. The whole point of that is that we're trying to get, we're not just some boring company, and insurance isn't boring. Because when it happens, there's a claim, whether it's a car, medical, cyber claim, whatever claim, it's not boring anymore. You're thanking the Lord that you got the insurance in time.
It, as you said, like, it does require a bit of planning and a bit of, and even your team, and you came and spoke to our employees and told them about whole of life insurance and things like that. That education process, is that something that you do as well on your?
Yes, I think that it's basically that one was financial well-being as a whole, and from that you do certain things. Take out life insurance, save, don't spend too much money on silly things. And so we do communicate that, and I think now as we go more digital as a company, we'd be able to spread that word, which we believe is very important. And the financial well-being campaign, as you know, there was no pressure to buy anything. Actually, it was completely for free, and we encourage all companies to go for that. Of course, from that we build a good reputation, credibility, and it would lead to clients later on. But for me, I feel like in this country, and especially in Dubai, it's so fast moving. People are on a high. Even if it's like a down period, people are on a high and nothing can go wrong to them. But I think in such a market where it's not actually your home, you got to protect yourself even more. And people are, car insurance is extremely cheap compared to places like, I'm from Vancouver, Canada. It's expensive. Home insurance is quadruple the amount of what it is here. People get shocked. It's basically, if I'm not mistaken, like 100 dirhams, 100 dirhams a month for home insurance, whether you're a tenant or a homeowner. So these things we want to spread so we can spread the word. But I think through tech, through podcasts, it will be the way to do it moving forward. And for me, the only thing that I want is exposure to what we're doing. And let people make the decisions. The one that frustrates me the most is when people say, is there home insurance available? Is there cyber insurance available? Is there, or what kind of car insurance? Nobody knows anything. It's up to us as a company to educate. Or an industry, sorry.
Ramzi, how does the UAE compare with other markets? Because, when I was working in other countries, insurance isn't part of the package, right? It's not something that's provided with the visa, the residency. You kind of, there's different health systems in different countries. Some health systems are private, some are public, some are different things. There's different approaches and mentalities around life insurance, around travel insurance, around home insurance.
100%.
But in the UAE, the system, and you might articulate this more eloquently than me, but the system is around insurance that it's part of your visa. It's a requirement. Therefore, individuals almost, the company provide it, and almost everyone has a type of a sponsor, either themselves or, so they then are covered, and they kind of, almost, it's equivalent of having public health insurance, and then it might lead you to kind of stop there. My insurance is covered, therefore I don't really need those other things like travel insurance, home insurance, and I don't really research it. Do you think that happens a bit, and why is the system like that here?
Well, a couple of reasons why the system is like that here. One is because you're not in places like Canada where the insurance is covered by basically the government and the taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
That's the biggest thing, and nothing is for free. There's no free lunch out there. So, but at the same time, though, here they made it into a very cheap basic policy for everybody. Potentially anybody can just go for a 500 dirham plan, unless 600. I forgot the final price, but we're talking in this range. Unless, of course, you're above like 65 years old, there's a different premium. But why is it done here? Because they can't take care of the medical insurance for all here. And so they gave basic benefits. So 150,000 dirhams is the maximum for the basic plan. And it's the benefits are limited, but for any emergencies, even pre-existing conditions, they're covered.
How much did you say, sorry?
150,000 dirhams for the year.
For an individual?
Yeah.
150,000.
It's not enough, but it's better than nothing.
They cover that amount.
Yeah,
you don't pay that amount.
Yeah.
The premium. Okay.
No. I mean, the premium would be 600, for example, at that. But before this law came into place, I think the penetration rate was about 30 to 40% 10 years ago for medical. So you have organizations which, to cut costs, they didn't provide any medical.
Okay.
Right? And it was a perk. So back then, if a company has medical insurance, whatever it is, that's like an advantage to go into. Now, medical insurance is covered, but for example, what we did with our organization is we added group life insurance as another thing. But why is it done here like that? Because simply they can't afford to pay for everybody, and there will be an overload on the system, the hospitals here, the medical facilities, if the government is paying for everything.
And of course there isn't income tax, or there isn't other taxes. So indirectly it's the same thing in a way. But the company pays for it rather than an individual.
I'll be honest with you, I prefer because like I said, I'm from Canada, so I went through that complete system as well. I prefer it here because the private medical is better than just waiting. Sometimes you wait for an appointment, even in Canada, for a long time, unless you live in a very good area.
Yeah.
I think private medical is the way to go. You get proper care. I've read some horror stories from my friends from the UK where, an appointment takes a long time and then it just kind of brushed off. But when you go to a proper facility, and when I say proper, like that's they're getting paid for it. It's a more serious issue.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's better to improve your life as opposed to sustaining your life.
Yeah. It's really interesting. We could talk beyond kind of insurance and talk about privatization and different, how almost public services, whether it's to do with schooling or whether it's to do with health, how they work. But, in your experience here, how do you feel people receive the kind of cover that they get? Are they happy with the cover they get, and how has it evolved?
No, they're not. Nobody's happy.
So happy all the time.
No, that is a question that, look. Usually here you're going to get your medical insurance coverage from your employer or whoever's sponsoring you. Not usually, that's how it works. So let's say you work with a company and they can give the lowest plan or the super highest plan, and obviously when it's a super highest plan, people love that, but people still complain, right? And I think the problem with that is because they complain when there's like approvals taking more time at the clinic or whatever. And people think it's always the insurance company or insurance broker that's to blame, when it's usually not, actually, because the company and the broker have shown you the documents, should have explained to you the full details, you've approved it, right? But then when it goes to an approval, it's a bad insurance company. Not necessarily. The process between the clinics and the hospitals is where people complain, and the insurance. So the approvals take longer because of that reason. So are they happy with it? The answer is no. But at the same time, in my opinion, you are able to work hard and earn income in such a environment. There's no income tax and all that stuff. So you should be able to budget insurance for yourself. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. There's no why put your protection into somebody else's hands?
Why take the risk?
Yeah, I mean, you should budget for it per year, just like you would do your rent.
Okay.
So that's my advice.
Yeah. Fair enough. So Ramzi, how did you get? You mentioned that you grew up in Canada, and how did you get involved into this? And what does it take to run? We've heard already that it's a competitive environment. What does it take to run an insurance business?
Yeah, let me get some water for that one.
Take a sip of water. Yeah. So, I mean, what were you doing before, and sort of what skills does it take now to do what you're doing?
You know, I don't know. I'm doing my best with this one, and so. You know, I grew up in Canada, but grew up in Vancouver specifically. And after university, I mean, I worked there for a bit, but then after university, I decided to live and work in the Middle East, just because. Yeah. I just wanted to experience something else. And my journey took me back to Jordan for a few years. Okay. Jordan, and started life over there. I worked in multinationals over there. One of them being Orange Telecom. Yeah. So I was in charge. I was always in marketing and brand development. Okay. Like the strategic part of the brand. Yeah. That was my thing. And I have an MBA in marketing and my BA is in economics. And I love marketing. I love the idea of marketing. So I got into that. I established my own business into a brand development guy. So I'd help startups develop their brand. Yeah. Then you give it to a designer to kind of implement that. So that's what I was doing for multiple years. Even pricing. Pricing models, how to take the brand to the next level, the brand architecture. That's exactly what I was always hired to do, and I was good at that. My biggest thing coming to Petra was I didn't have any insurance background, but I was always into the business as a kid. But my father basically encouraged me to move into it because of what I'm doing over there. I can do for this business, and it would be for myself or for us. And I had to learn insurance and take a course. So I took a bunch of courses before I joined. So the technical aspects I actually, enjoyed. So I combined the technical part with the marketing part, and that's where we are today. Running a business, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, this was a horrible year. I mean, for all of us, the past year from COVID, and then the lag effect of COVID was difficult. It was probably the most challenging time of my career, and I was like stuck between a rock and a hard place a few times, and a lot of drowning moments, and I'm proud to say that. But we readjusted some strategies, and things picked up again for us. And not because the market has picked up. I mean, it's a little bit better than before. People are a bit more confident to go out and do things. People are coming to Dubai more. But for me, we readjusted the strategy. We did a few things, and then kind of improved from that perspective, and the right path is already there, and the success has already started. I mean, so we had to reinvent ourselves. This is what I'm trying to say. And based on reinvention is also going full on tech. So we're going to be launching our technical solution, InsurTech solution, very soon, and actually we're going to be rebranding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but just taking off a point of what you said there. Well, firstly, economics and marketing is a solid sort of two functions that are really good for kind of financial discipline and also branding to run a business. So probably I think your father's guidance might have helped what you're doing now. So it's really good. But just as you said, where you're going next, how has the insurance industry evolved? Because we know of the household names, the underwriters, as you call them, or the brands of the insurance companies, and then we know of brokers and we know of websites who are aggregators. Is that the story of the sort of digital era, the last 20 years? Has that been a little bit disrupted by aggregators? And then, if so, then what are the other guys doing? What are the global names in insurance doing? And how is the industry now?
It's huge. There's a huge change around the world. So I follow the trends in Europe specifically. Okay. It's pretty phenomenal what's happening over there. There's so many parts of insurance in the tech space that you can get into. And over there, it's a bit more freer to go into the insurance, even if you're not a broker. So here you need a license for everything. So the market is moving where you're making it more accessible, and it's a bit more agile and simple, especially now in Europe. This is this is what's happening, and there's major investments being spent.
Like what? Like, you know, because I've been also here nearly 10 years, and back then there was, you know, compare the market, and there was insurance aggregators. Has something happened since? Is there more of a, is there a sort of a buy now, pay later equivalent for insurance? Is there different things?
I think there's definitely that. That's available here actually.
Okay.
Buy now and pay later, or pay over, or whatever. And we have that option in our business, but it's a bit more advanced over there. So yeah, there's
insurance on demand. Is there?
Yeah, there is something like that. And there's also like you go into different verticals,
Okay.
like the claim processing, portals for clients. You can actually put insurance into. So if you're an insurance provider, whatever that is, you can go and put that insurance portal, if you will, into the client's website, and then they can take out insurance, and the client benefits from the money that they get from that. So the distribution of insurance has expanded, and it's important for that to happen, because the traditional way, which is the broker, the insurance company, is slowing down. Everything is going tech, obviously. It's a younger generation, you know. Younger generation, like if I were to go into my statistics onto my our advertising, on the social media and all that, their average age is about 30 years old that look at our stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
So those ones are going to be interested in how they can get easier accessibility for insurance, and that's how it is. That's what's happening in Europe, in the UK, in the Scandinavian countries, Germany. It's full on over there. It's actually very exciting. Before COVID, of course, I'd go to a bunch of conferences. It was just so stimulating and exciting to see where it's going. It's not there yet now. Here, there's only aggregators, which is okay, but it's just a tip of the iceberg. And insurance aggregators were exciting here about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and it's probably going to continue to do so, to be so. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's not even anything to what we can do, and what the industry can do as well.
And have you taken some of those insights from the European market and the trends to come up with the new positioning and the digital? And can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't divulge too much information right now, but definitely we're full on, like I said, in the technology part, and we're going to be doing. There'll be some interesting launches coming up in the next while. Yeah. Barring any pandemic situations, you know. But overall, we're gonna be taking what we've learned over there, what makes sense for this market, and bringing it over here. And it's not going to be a one thing approach. You know, whether it's an aggregator tool or if it's something that's more corporate. We have all these things that are in place we've been working on for a while. And also there's products that are pretty difficult to put on the aggregator model, very much difficult products that we've been developing for a while now, and we're pretty happy. We're about 80% there. And I think that will really make things easy for clients and people and companies to get their insurance in a very clear way, in a very transparent way.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of things happening for us, and that is one of them. Like, so yeah, we will definitely be bringing some of that over here. And you know what, you guys will be the first people to know. Let's put it that way.
Very good. So Ramzi, just on that sort of business strategy, because I think people outside of the insurance industry could relate to the approach that you're taking in terms of, okay, this is a kind of a legacy incumbent business that's been, you know, well positioned in the market, and you're trying to digitize. So the kind of buzz terms like digital transformation, and then we see of the disruptors like the aggregators, and they tend to be heavily backed. They tend to be venture.
Yeah, of course.
But so how do you approach that? How do you say, hey, whether it's an F&B industry or whether it's whatever industry, I'm going to do almost the same as what they're doing. I'm going to take learnings from trends in the digital world, but I'm going to interwove it, or, you know, put it as part of my business. How do you do that with, you know, without sort of cannibalizing your existing business? How do you kind of reskill your team and everything like that? What's the kind of approach?
Yeah, that is a big deal. The way I see it, first of all, if you have a good reputation, credibility and trust, and also you know your clients or you know your business well, that transition for your current and new clients would be seamless, more or less. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's there. Cannibalization, I think happens when you completely shift your strategy or what your values are completely, and that could be a strategic decision. But we intend to keeping our values, of empathy, communication, all that stuff, accuracy, all there, but shifting in a different way of presenting it and making it easier for our team to be able to use this service. Clients logically will be happy to use a service that is easier to use or that is more fun to use. Now, cannibalization could happen, but the way I see it, if it's for the bigger picture, sometimes there'll be some sacrifices, and not just for clients. I mean, it could be for even some staff. They may not make sense for them. There's no fit for them. They may not feel welcome anymore. Not because we're not welcoming them, but there's a fit there. There's a culture shift as well. But we aim not for that not to happen, but it could happen, and it's part of the process of growth.
Yeah, interesting. Are there any sort of like 23, 24-year-olds who are doing a startup who are setting up a brokerage firm, like a traditional firm?
No, but I know that there's a lot of people that think it's easy to get a brokerage firm. It's not easy at all. Like you need to hire somebody who is of high salary with experience in insurance, and then and then not just that, you have to have an operations person with certain experience. You have to have a life insurance person, all that stuff. Plus you put money in that's locked in with the bank. So you have to put in not just besides a deposit that stays, which is in the brokerage is 3 million dirhams. So you can't touch it. It's your money. You can't touch it. It's there. It's a security deposit.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That's stressful.
Yeah.
I think it was like 500,000 without a security deposit, just capital.
Yeah.
Then it jumped to 1 million, and then it jumped to 3 million capital, and then to put the security deposit. It was crazy.
Wow.
It was, from a regulatory perspective, I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest with you. And then also, things have changed from that perspective, but it is difficult for them to just buy one. And sometimes it's easier to partner up, or work on some sort of software that is insurance-based, but eventually they'd want to acquire a license. And that's fine, but there's a lot of work, regulation. I'm telling you, it's a headache. The audits that come in. Yeah. It's part of the job. But it's not just you get a license and then everything is good. It's actually get the license, and then there's a lot of work to maintain that license. Yeah. And I get fined. Like you may get fined for things that you didn't know even existed were even fines, and you could be running your business perfectly, but it's just a matter of you're fined and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah, I think, in terms of regulation, like obviously if the market's saturated, this can keep the barrier to entry down in one level.
It's true.
So there are some positives. But I didn't think of that, maybe others did, but that you would have to have insurance. Yeah, you would have to have security. It's not just the insurance companies that you might. Is that in case that you need to pay out, or why do you need that capital? What risks do the banks or the regulators have? Why can't they just give you a license? Why do they need cash in your bank?
Well, because in the past there have been brokers that have, just like anything else in this country, like people have run off, with money. Okay. So you have business owners in different industries, including insurance. Oh, right. Insurance brokers that have kind of run off with the money, and insurance companies weren't able to be paid. But again, I have to say it bluntly, the insurance companies also gave people massive credit. What are you guys doing? That's also a risk from the insurance company. What are you doing giving that much credit? We're talking millions, which is unheard of, for a certain broker. What do you expect to happen? That's just the way it is. So they put all the blame on the brokers, which I think is completely unfair.
How does that work? How does an insurance company give a broker credit?
Well, so back in the day, so now when you buy your car insurance, you give your insurance, you give it to the broker, and then you issue the policy. So it's paid from the client. There's no issues from the client's perspective. As a company, you get, there's a lot of deals. You can't pay every policy one by one.
Yeah, you do volume deals, and they're the provider, and you book things.
So it's a 30-day. Yeah, so it's a 30-day credit period, or 60 days, or whatever, 15 days sometimes. A medical insurance is a different situation where you got to pay the insurance company directly. Okay. And then there's a credit period of, not credit period, but we want the money from them within 30 days, like just a different thing. But back then, everything was paid from the client to the broker, you know, and then so there was some, you know, you have rotten apples in every industry. It happens. But I do think, though, that they allow that to happen by not controlling it better. And you can't just say, like, there's a limit, there should be a limit from both sides, not just one party.
Interesting. Yeah. The reason I asked that, it was in relation to your digital pivot, is because sometimes I think the world of startups are, and young people are almost told a media narrative that the way to do something new is to go big and to raise money and to disrupt, whereas actually this sort of hybrid of bricks and mortar and digital approach with, you know, people to people relationships and things like that, plus a digital version, is a better way of doing it. And, you know, I always think of, if we're doing a media business today, then how are we doing it? Are we doing it like a TikTok? Are we doing it like a digital version of an old media company, like a law firm? If you're launching a law firm today,
you're right.
Would you be a law firm that specializes in, like you were saying, cybersecurity? Or would you, and then if so, then do you have lawyers? Do you have educated, talented people? So that's why I think, you know, going back to insurance is one of the pillars of business, right? And it's such an interesting space, such a not interesting base that we don't give enough time to understanding it. But if someone, it's, as you said, it's not sexy from a buying point of view, but from a business point of view, we don't hear of people saying, hey, I'm going to set up an insurance business much, do we?
I mean, they want,
no,
but I've come across people that are purely in the digital space that want to partner up with us.
Yeah.
And, you know, transparently speaking, that they want to become brokers or get the license so that they have full control. And that's not a bad strategy at all, but there's a lot of cost to come with that. And I think the point is that it's, when you first hear about all these things, you get excited. But when it comes down to it, it's not as simple as it sounds. There's a lot of hard work, and I think some people just want to make the quick money. That's the problem. It's, they just want to make the quick buck, and that is not sustainable. I mean, I've never easy come, easy go is exactly it. So I don't say don't go for the brokerage or don't partner up with a brokerage and eventually acquire one. I think that's a very healthy strategy. But there's two things I would say. I'll let you in on a little secret. If you do that, that means you got to take it on full on, and there is a benefit to that because you're able to do anything actually as a license. When you don't have a license, you don't have much. The second part is, if you're focusing on the tech part, make it scalable across different countries.
Yeah.
And that's the key to scaling up within the insurance industry right now. Is don't try to look outside of the scope of Dubai. And that was our fault for the longest time. Oh, Dubai, not even Abu Dhabi, although we do Abu Dhabi, but we don't even focus on marketing there. So instead of closing your eyes into something, a market, there is a chance to scale around the world potentially.
Okay, fascinating. On that point, what's your view globally? But you know this region very well. Are you, right now in sort of a decade, are you optimistic about this region as an emerging market? And if so, is that sort of a focus for your business?
I mean, I'm very optimistic. I've always been optimistic. This place has always been good to our family, good to people. My staff, my team, I call them the Petra family. They're here working, and I'm very happy they're working in a very good environment, and they're looking forward to the future. Not a lot of them would want to go back home, and if they could, they would. I mean, if they could, meaning that they had a good outlook over there, they would. This place presents a great opportunity for people to grow, and it's really up to you how hard and smart you work, how resilient you are, how positive you are to really become successful here. It's an opportunity. It's multicultural. You can meet so many people. You can it's a little vacation all the time also. Like you can meet different people from different cultures. I'm very optimistic about this region, specifically the UAE and the Gulf. But also I'm very optimistic about the world. I mean, with all the stuff that's happening today, it's hard sometimes, but I think sometimes we have to go through crap to kind of benefit from what's coming out after that. And I think once the world opens up again, which is probably in the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months properly, it's going to be a different world out there. And I think it's something to be very excited about. And then we can actually take advantage of that. Opportunities, scale, business-wise, meet new people, everything.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. There's some of the themes, I don't know if you did that intentionally, but there's some of the themes of the expo in terms of...
No, it's just completely right. But it's good, it's good.
Sort of opening up and also, that sort of setting trends for the future. And hopefully, that will happen, not just in the Gulf, but kind of wider in Levant and North Africa as well. Because it would be great if all the economies kind of rose together as well.
I agree.
And so before we wrap up, just sort of from an investor point of view, like I always remember how Warren Buffett started in investing, that his first business he understood, and it reminded me of when you mentioned your father liked looking at the details and looking at the contracts. So Warren Buffett, I think it was reinsurance or one of the, I should know the name, one of the famous American companies.
I think it's Geico.
Geico, sorry, that's the one. Geico, yeah. So, but yeah, maybe they did reinsurance, not an expert, but how he read about that and how he constantly invested in it and the dividends he got on it, and he just understood that insurance is a great business because people pay and the margins are there and things like that. Is it still a good business? Is it still something that people like Warren Buffett should invest in? Is it still a solid business, or does it face lots of challenges?
Well, my advice is you invest in an insurance business that has proper tech solutions, and if they have a developer in there developing technology, hop on there.
Okay.
All right. This is my advice, because insurance right now, with the traditional way, the margins are thinning. Okay. And so it just is what it is. So how do you get out of the red ocean? You focus on other products that have higher margin, or go towards ways of distributing it in an agile way where you don't have to worry about a person talking on a lower margin scale. Let it be a lower margin, but why let the tech do the talking for you? And those are the two things. And I do think it's insurance will always be there. It just will. It's just a matter of which one will you invest in. And I think the biggest attraction to it is that A, it's always going to be a need, and two, the cash is there. The margin's a bit lower, but there's strategies to combat that. Either the agile way of going all over the place, like going full volume, and then focusing on the bigger margin ones like cyber, like the more the corporate ones that need more of a human interaction. But even that can be digitized to a point where it makes the interaction smoother.
Interesting. I think you mentioned it at the start, but I think the cyber security and insurance is we could talk another episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing. Yeah. We did a webinar on it last year with Chubb, which is one of the biggest companies in the world for this, for security. From a gentleman from the UK as well. So we did a webinar with locals here, local providers, and the Chubb out of the UK. It was really interesting.
They're an insurance provider for the cybersecurity space.
Yes. Okay. More about security and all that stuff, but of course that. And so we have a webinar on that. It's on our social media. Check it out.
Okay.
So, and then we have a lot of things that I highly encourage people to look into.
Yeah.
Because whatever you read on our site or watch, you're going to learn something new. It could pique your interest, and it could definitely impact you positively financially if you take the right insurance.
I was going to finish on that. Yeah. So what's your website and how do people get in touch?
Our website is insurewithpetra.com. insurewithpetra.com, and we have all of our social media. We're very active on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And so you can just Petra Insurance UAE. You can't miss us. So check us out.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, Ramzi, thanks so much for your time today. It's good to have an insurance history lesson.
Thank you.
Good luck with the future, and we'll watch for the new launches.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.